I'm bigcal and welcome to my world. Today is another recent video games pickups video focusing on Sony PlayStation systems. So first up, an accessory I got from 8-Bit Mods, the MemCard Pro 2. Hopefully you can see that on screen. Basically, this is a massive memory card for the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, an updated one from the original model, which I think you had to buy a separate one for the PS1 and PS2, or they didn't have a PS2 at the time, it was just PS1. Anyway, this one does both, and basically, all your saves can go onto an SD card, micro SD card, meaning you can essentially have unlimited save files, which is very handy if you've got a ton of games and, you know, only so many memory cards. You don't have to swap between them all, which can be a bit of a pain. And I own nearly 200 PlayStation 2 games, around 180 PlayStation 1 games, so having save files for all of them, usually when I just play them for 5 minutes just to test them, it always has to create a save file, and a lot of times I just have to say no because I've only got a couple of memory cards. This will allow you to create unlimited memory cards. You can also create larger than the normal size, but some games don't work with that. But it doesn't matter anyway. There are guides online to have it set up so each game is essentially its own memory card, and it will automatically switch to when you put that game in. So yeah, that's all really cool. You can do it all so it all names everything and looks pretty and that. It's relatively simple when you follow the online guides. You can access it via Wi-Fi as well to update things and manage things and copy files over. And that's really cool. Little screen to show you what's going on, which is fine. And also with the PlayStation 2 especially, you can set it up with free MC Boot, which is what I use to load games from the hard drive. And it will automatically detect that when you first turn on the PlayStation 2, load free MacBoot, and then when you go into a game, it will automatically load and detect that game's save data if you've got it on here. If not, it will create a new folder or whatever, a new memory card essentially for that one game. Yeah, so it's really, really cool. Wasn't that expensive. I think they're a bit behind on orders now, so if you have to go on and buy one now, it's technically a pre-order because they're waiting on more stock. But yeah, they do lots of cool memory cards. They did a GameCube one, I think, which I would love to get, but it's more expensive than this one, and I'm not sure if they're in stock. And I'd love to see if they do a Dreamcast one at some point, because I'm always having issues with the shitty VMUs. Yeah, so MemCard Pro, really, really cool accessory. And some accessories I've been meaning to get for ages for the PlayStation 3 is the Move controllers and the camera. So I've got the camera, I've got the regular Move controller and the navigation controller in there. I've got maybe 3 games at the moment that I can use with them. I've not tested them yet. So yeah, hopefully they all work. I trust where I got them from, so that should be no problem. But what I'm going to do is probably pick up some more games in the next few weeks that use the PlayStation Move controllers, and then, like I'm already planning to do with the Xbox 360 Connect, with all the pickups I've got for that, I'll show off a video showing off, footage of me using the Move controller on some games I already own and some new games. And then maybe in the future, depending on how I feel, I might do a bigger video on the Move, like I'm planning to do with the Connect, but not really sure if there's going to be that much there for a big Move video or not. Anyway, let's get on to some games, starting with Ratchet & Clank on the PlayStation 4. So, Ratchet & Clank on PS4 is essentially a reboot/remake of the original game, only this time it's based on the movie, based on the original game, which was slightly different. Yeah, so it looks really good on PlayStation 4, controls really well, it's all your Ratchet & Clank action that you would expect, some platforming, lots of shooting, your different guns and things, and of course the crazy story. Yeah, so that's Ratchet & Clank on PlayStation 4. It's not quite the same as the original, but I think there's plenty of fun still to be had here, and the game is cheap as chips. You can usually get it in a sale for like £8 if you get the PlayStation Hits version. So, yeah, nice pickup. Next we have, I got these 2 games in 2 for £20, so £10 each, absolute bargain, and they both have free PS5 upgrades, which is awesome, so I can use them on PS5. I did test them out on both systems, and I couldn't really tell that much difference in the quality other than the lighting is better on PS5 because, you know, there's some ray tracing on there. But other than that, play them on PS4, play them on PS5, doesn't really matter. Yeah, so first up we have Resident Evil 3, and the disc has fallen out. Go back in, don't want you getting damaged. So the original Resident Evil 3 is my favourite Resident Evil game on the PlayStation 1. Absolutely loved it as a kid. Yes, it's slightly more action-y based than the more survival horror feel of especially the first one and even the second one. That's probably why I loved it more as a kid, and it was also the first Resident Evil game I ever completed. Multiple times I had a blast with Resident Evil 3. The remakes on PlayStation 4 have been mostly good. Resident Evil 3 definitely is more divisive, whatever. Just because it's not quite the same as the console version. They left out, I believe, a chunk of stuff, and they've changed a lot of things, so it's definitely a different game. But it's still Resident Evil 3 at heart. It's still a fun Resident Evil game. I've only played a little bit of it so far, but yes, Resident Evil 3, I'm probably going to enjoy either way, but still not quite the original. And the other game I got in the 2 for £20 was Resident Evil 7 Biohazard Gold Edition. Yeah, so the Gold Edition has some extra content, I believe. Yeah, and as well, PS5 upgrade for this one, and it looks really good. So you're a guy, out of the blue you get a call from, I think, your girlfriend who you believe died like a year ago. So you go to find her at this abandoned farmhouse kind of place, and yeah, it is creepy as fuck. This is where they went back to less action and more sort of horror and certainly survival than like Resident Evil 4 certainly went to a bit more action. 5 and 6 definitely did. Yeah, so this went back to what people liked the most about the Resident Evil games. It's still got plenty of action as well, yeah, so it's a nice mix. So I played a bit more of this one, the Resident Evil 3, just because I'd never played Resident Evil 7 before. And it's a pretty fun game so far. I look forward to, at some point, playing through all the Resident Evil games on PS4/PS5, because you can get pretty much all of them on the PlayStation 4, which is just insane. So, yeah. Next, we have a game that I picked up, again, very cheap, and it's one of those I might want to play in the future, but there's a good chance it'll get expensive because it always does. And that is Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster. And if you saw my Nintendo Switch pickups videos a few weeks ago, you remember I got Shin Megami Tensei 5 as well, for the same reason that I might want to play it in the future, and it's probably going to get expensive. Yeah, so basically this is the original series that spawned Persona, and it's got a lot of Persona-esque stuff in it, obviously, because it's the series that started it all. It's much more dark, and it just doesn't have that colourful personality that Persona games have. And again, like I said in the Nintendo Switch video, it can be a little bit more difficult to get into these games after you've played some of the Persona games. It's definitely that for me. This one does seem a little bit better than Shin Megami Tensei 5 in terms of getting into it, like a Persona game, but still a little bit iffy, but yeah, seems to be not too bad. So at some point I will play through this because it's a very, very good JRPG turn-based that I adore, and yeah, it's got all the stuff I like about Persona in the battle system and mechanics and things. It's just got a darker story, so yeah, I look forward to getting into that at some point. Next is a game that I never expected to buy on release. Technically I pre-ordered it like a couple of days before, yeah, but I have a history with these games where I haven't bought one at release or pre-ordered one for release since 2014. Or 13 technically when it came out, but yeah, basically 10 years since, with WWE 2K14. But I decided to go for it, and I got WWE 2K24. Yeah, this is the latest in the series, and of course now things are changing with the WWE games. They had, was it Ukes basically for years were doing them, and eventually they just got so dull and boring and broken every single year. I not only stopped buying them, after they'd released, I just gave up getting them at all. I'm missing a few releases, even though I love collecting wrestling games. And then when they took a year off and we got new developers in for WWE 2K22, things were definitely improved. They were starting from scratch, so things were missing, things weren't quite as good, and I understood that, but my friend lent me his copy because he wanted me to play through the showcase mode to unlock everything for him, save him doing it, and I had fun with it. He did the same with WWE 2K23, brought it down, I played through the showcase mode, had a blast with it. So when 2K24 was coming out and there were lots of new updates and improvements to the game, I was able to get it £10 cheaper than what it should have been anyway on the PlayStation 5. I thought, why not? And honestly, I've had an absolute blast with it. With most of it. Now, just going into sort of exhibition, I don't know what they call it now, I'll just call it My Play, I think. And you just go in and have matches and do whatever the hell you want, and it's fun as hell. The story mode, I've had an absolute blast with that. A bunch of different choices in there. Not sure how much difference they'll make, but yeah, that was really, really fun to go through. The other modes are garbage, quite honestly. The GM mode is laughably bad. It has less features than the first GM mode did in SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 that released in 2005. Yeah, so that was kind of terrible. Then there's My Faction, that's kind of a card-based thing where you have matches and then get cards, and yeah, just not really for me. And there's the, what's it called? The Universe mode. Yeah, which is just pathetically bad as well. So a lot of the modes, really garbage, but if you're just going in, having matches and doing your own thing, you can have an absolute blast with this like I did. Yeah, so WWE 2K24, really, really fun. Had a blast with it. Definitely worth it in my opinion. So, yeah. And next is a game that I'm currently playing through on the PlayStation 5. Been wanting this for a while. Saw it on sale. Grabbed it straight away. Yep, so it is Diablo 4. I first started playing Diablo 2 back in the day on PC in the early 2000s. My friend bought the base game, I bought the expansion, and then we just used no CD patches to so we could both install and play the games. And yeah, Diablo 2, absolutely fantastic. Then I got Diablo 3 for the PlayStation 4 and the Switch. Loved both versions, played the hell out of them both, and now Diablo 4 is just more Diablo, really. I'm playing as a necromancer, my favourite class, just because I love killing things and then resurrecting them as my personal skeleton warriors and things like that can murder everything else. Always a total blast. There are tons of side quests in the game, which is great. Going around each city, finding new side quests to do and go kill more things and get cool weapons and armour and items, and coming back deciding, should I equip that? Should I equip that? Should I get rid of that? Should I add a buff to that one and this one? Then you've got the huge skill tree, which is absolutely massive, and apparently I'm only halfway into it, which is also just insane. Yeah, so I'm having a really, really fun time with Diablo 4. Yeah, like I said, it's just more Diablo. If you like Diablo games, get Diablo 4 because it's fantastic. I'm not a big fan about the whole thing, it's always online, and yeah, you sometimes see other people running up and down about you, but just ignore them and just carry on with your own game. That's what I do. Next, we have a game for a system that I don't own. It's the second game for this system that I don't own, and it's also from the same series. So I already own The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 2, Japanese for the PlayStation Vita, but I now own Trails of Cold Steel 1 in English for the PlayStation Vita. And this was sent to me from one of my Australian friends, so thank you for that. Awesome. Yeah, so it's just The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel, but on the Vita. One day I might get a Vita, who knows, but yeah, I'd like to collect all the Trails of Cold Steel games, including all the same games for all the different systems, but the Vita ones are typically expensive, so I just don't bother, especially since I don't own the system. Yeah, but it's always nice to get them. Thank you for that. Lastly then, this just came in the post today. I haven't even had a chance to play it, but I have played it in the past. And not only that, but it can actually knock it off my most wanted games list. So every year around about, is it May, I usually do them? I do a top 10 most wanted games list and games that I want to try and pick up within the next year. Some of them are expensive, some of them aren't particularly expensive, but might be a little bit difficult to get. Some of them are imports, which makes them a bit more complicated. And yeah, so I can finally knock this off the list. It is an import. It was expensive in that it was £40, but I'm very happy to finally own it. That is a garbage game, to be quite honest with you, but I'm glad I own it. Twisted Metal 3. So yeah, Twisted Metal 2 was the first ever PlayStation 1 game I ever played. It came with my console with 2 other games back in the day, but that was the first one that I put in and played. Love it to this day. I still play it yearly, going through all the characters, completing all the modes, and it is just fantastic. The rest of the games, for me, are always 50-50, either good or bad. When it comes to the PlayStation 1, you've got Twisted Metal 1, which is decent-ish, but not my favourite. Twisted Metal 2, fantastic, the best in the series. Twisted Metal 3 and Twisted Metal 4 only released in America rather than Europe. They probably came out in Japan as well, I'm not sure. But yeah, we didn't get them over here, so I had to play them on copy. They are new developers to it, and yeah, they have a reputation for not being very good at all, but it's still Twisted Metal and I still want them for my collection. Then we have Small Brawl, that was also only released in America, not Europe, but I bought that years ago and I love it. It's like Twisted Metal 2, but with the whole thing being that you're playing toy cars in real life locations, so it's that kind of Toy Story thing. You're a small toy in the real world where everything's huge. Love that. Then of course you got the Twisted Metal Black and Twisted Metal Head On the PlayStation 2 and Twisted Metal Head On the PSP as well. And I love the Head On game, not a big fan of Black. Then they did Twisted Metal, the reboot, on PS3, which is fantastic. Absolutely love it. Yeah, so Twisted Metal 3 finally added to my collection, despite not being the biggest fan of it. And another reason I haven't played this yet is because it is still sealed, officially sealed from Sony. And £40 sounds like a lot for a game, but I got it from a UK seller for starters, which was awesome, so free delivery, and it's sealed. Buying it normally online, you have to get from an American seller or a Canadian seller, where you might get the game technically for about 15 quid, and then you're paying an absolute fortune in delivery fees to get it over to the UK, and then you never know, you might get charged with some other random, import fee that you can never really tell. They have laws and regulations on when they can and can't charge you and how much, and it just seems to be complete random in my experience. And all of those were used as well. So I got it sealed for basically the price it would have cost me for a used game if I'd imported it from America. So I'm happy about that at the very least. I will open it up in a little bit and play it to record some footage to go over this. Maybe I'll find it better than I did back in the day. Odds are I won't, but you never know. So yeah, it's great to finally knock it off the wanted list, and I don't really care that it's the greatest hits version either. So what are you going to do? Well, that's it then for these PlayStation pickups. Got some accessories, a bunch of games. Very, very happy. I'm bigcal. Thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of my pickups. Let me know what you've got recently, and I'll see you again next time.